Well, Paul, the question for you is, why do good people suffer?
Well, that's a really big question to be asking. It's usually the case that when someone asks a question like that, there's a reason behind it. They either experience the suffering of a loved one, or maybe they're suffering themselves. In fact, it's probably true to say that every one of us at some point in our life will experience some form of suffering. It's a really hard one to answer, simply because that's true. We all suffer at some point or another. And usually I find when I'm asked this question, as I have been many times before, if I'm honest, there isn't really an answer that you can give that will enable someone to fully make sense of the reason why they're suffering. All I can do is draw on my own experience. My own experience is this, that my father got Parkinson's. Parkinson's actually was a horrible disease, and it robbed him of his sharp mind, it robbed him of his mobility, and it robbed him of his sense of speech, and later on in life his eyesight. In fact, it was Parkinson's really that contributed to his early death. And in those days, whilst I would never wish anyone to go through what my father went through, there was still in the midst of it some aspect of Dad and I being afforded an opportunity that we perhaps ordinarily wouldn't have had. And so yes, I wish Dad didn't have Parkinson's, but the fact that he did meant that we had several months, certainly towards the end of his life, when he was in a care home, when I was going in to see him every day, when perhaps even communicating was very difficult. Dad and I had an opportunity to talk as father and son in the way that often people just don't have that time and that chance. Dad was a man of God. He had an incredibly strong faith, and his faith helped him in those difficult days. He loved to pray when I went in to see him, and he loved it when I sat and read God's word to him, because despite everything else sort of fading away, he still maintained his deep knowledge, his deep understanding, and his deep relationship with Christ. I remember in the last week or two of Dad's life, when I would go in and see him at least once a day, sometimes twice. And whenever I would leave, I would always say the same thing to him. And I would say this, I would say, Dad, I'll either see you in heaven or I'll see you tomorrow. And he would give a big smile and just nod his head. So why do good people suffer? I have to be honest, there's no answer I can give that maybe is going to be satisfactory. But we all suffer at times, and I know in the times I've suffered and loved ones around me have suffered, my faith has really helped me during those times.